Hey everyone, welcome back to Ashbourne Library, another books at bedtime session. We're going to read another legend from Irish Legends for the Very Young, illustrated and written by Niamh Sharkey and published by Mercier Press. Oisín in Tir na Nog. Tir na Nog lies over the blue waves, further than the eye can see. In that magic land, you never grow old. Time stands still. There's plenty of honey and wine. The trees always have leaves, and your hair never turns white. You live forever and ever. It never rains or snows, and the wind is no more than a cooling breeze. Oisín was the son of Finn, the leader of the Fianna. His name meant Little Fawn, and he was a poet as well as a warrior. Sometimes his poems were so long that it took him a whole day to recite them. He had a mop of red curly hair and sparkling eyes the colour of acorns. One summer's day, the Fianna had stopped by the shores of one of the lakes of Killarney to have their midday feast. Oisín was playing with the dogs, making up some funny poems about how many times a dog wags his tail in one day. All the Fianna were laughing at Oisín's poems, when a strange thing happened. A white mist appeared and surrounded them. Out of the mist a girl appeared, riding a horse as white as snow. Golden hair hung in ringlets down her back. She wore a dress that had patterns of the moon and the stars painted on it. Her eyes were blue with a golden fleck, and she was clearly not of this world, for even her white horse had a golden saddle that was decorated with tiny starfish. The warriors were silent. They had never seen a woman so beautiful. Oisín's father Finn showed no fear. "Tell me your name, fair princess, and where you come from," he said. "I am Niamh of the golden hair. I come from Tir na Nog to meet your son Oisín," she said, and Oisín thought her voice sounded lovely. "I have travelled over the waves to meet him, for I have heard of his beautiful poems and songs. Is he here?" Oisín stepped forward. When Niamh saw his curly red locks and dancing eyes, she fell in love. "If you wish, I will follow you to the end of the world," he said. The fairy maiden began to tell him about her enchanted land, where all his wishes would be granted. "It's a wonderful place. The sun never sets, rain never falls, and you shall never grow old. Time stands still in Tir na Nog. A year will pass by like a day. You will have 100 swords, 100 horses, and 100 warriors. In fact, you may have 100 of whatever you wish." As Niamh was telling Oisín about Tir na Nog, his eyes got bigger and bigger. Finn saw the effect of her words and was worried, for he knew that if Oisín went to Tir na Nog, he would never return. Nobody had ever returned from there. Oisín turned to his father. "Do not worry," he said. "If I go with Niamh, I will return in a short while." His father had no choice but to let him go with her. As if in a dream, Oisín mounted the white horse behind Niamh and waved goodbye to his father and the rest of the Fianna. The white horse neighed 3 times and galloped towards the mountains. Finn was sad when he heard no sound coming from the hoof beats of the white horse. He knew it was the last time that he would see his son. The horse ran as fast as the wind, over hills and through forests. When they reached the sea, it snorted twice and dashed into the surf. The sea swirled around the horse's hooves, splashing Niamh and Oisín, who were sitting on the saddle. Oisín could see a storm approaching. Black clouds opened, spilling rain over the sea. Lightning flashed and thunder rolled, but the white horse never faltered. After some time, the rain stopped and the sun came out, drying their clothes and making them warm again. On their way to Tir na Nog, they passed a barren grey island in the middle of the ocean. "Where are we, Niamh?" asked Oisín. "At the home of Fomor of the Mighty Blows," said Niamh. "He is a cruel giant, and he keeps a young princess a prisoner in his tower. No man has ever dared to rescue her." Now Oisín was firstly a warrior, and when he heard about the poor princess, he asked Niamh to take him to the island. When they reached the path that led to the giant's castle, Oisín took out a silver sword and held it in front of him. As he reached the dark castle, he pounded with his fist on the heavy door. "Who's that knocking at my door?" thundered a booming voice that made Oisín's legs wobble. "I am Oisín, son of Finn," he replied. The door creaked open and when Oisín saw the owner of the castle, he could hardly believe his eyes. The giant was a terrifying sight, big and ugly, with a mop of wild black hair that hid his horrible face. The remains of his dinner hung from his scraggy beard. Oisín nearly fainted from the foul smell of his breath. The giant raised a club covered with spikes and the fight began. It lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Oisín spent most of his time ducking and weaving so that the giant would not hit him with the spiky club. At the end of the 3 days, the giant was exhausted from running after Oisín. He stopped to catch his breath, and Oisín, seeing his chance, cut the giant's head off with one mighty stroke. The fight was over, and Oisín rushed into the castle to set the princess free. She was the happiest person in the world, and she could not thank Niamh and Oisín enough for saving her from the wicked giant Fomor. The next morning, Niamh and Oisín headed off on the second half of their journey to Tír na nÓg. After a long day, they saw a speck of land in the distance. As they came closer, Oisín saw an island with rolling green hills and a gleaming white castle standing on a cliff overlooking the sea. It was a sight to feast the eyes on. The white horse shook the water off his coat as he trotted up the beach. Small clusters of seaweed were stuck to his hooves, but he didn't seem to mind. They were home. "Welcome to Tír na nÓg," said Niamh, and she kissed Oisín on the lips. The king and queen came down to the beach to welcome them. 100 warriors and maidens welcomed them also. Oisín looked around this wonderful place. All the houses were decorated with shells and jewels of sparkling colours. Apple, orange and lemon trees grew in the gardens. A welcoming party was held in the White Castle. The guests ate from silver plates with golden knives and forks. The feast went on for 10 days and 10 nights with singing, dancing and feasting. At the end of the 10 days, Niamh and Oisín were married under an orange tree as the sun went down. Tír na nÓg was everything that Niamh had promised and more. The sun shone every day. Oisín ate the best food and listened to beautiful music, and he was very happy to be with Niamh. Yet he missed his father and his fellow warriors of the Fianna. He longed to return to Ireland to tell them how happy he was. Oisín felt he had been in Tír na nÓg for only a short while. He forgot that time did not exist there. A year passed by like an hour. When he talked to Niamh about returning to Ireland, he was shocked to hear he had been away for over 300 years. Niamh was afraid to let Oisín go in case he might not return, but she knew that if he didn't see Ireland again, he would always be a little sad. "I will not yet let you go," said Niamh. "I will let you go," said Niamh, "if you promise not to get down off the white horse. If you do, you can never return to Tír na nÓg." Oisín promised Niamh that he would stay in the saddle. When Niamh kissed Oisín goodbye, she felt in her heart that she would never see her husband again. He climbed into the saddle of the white horse and galloped towards the waves. When he reached the shores of Ireland, Oisín was shocked to see that everything had changed. The men and women looked like dwarfs. They were so small. Oisín was the size of a giant compared to these little people. He rode wildly around Ireland on his white horse, searching for Finn and the Fianna. But no matter where he went, there was no sign of his father or his old comrades. He decided to go home, but when he got there, he saw his father's fortress lying in ruins, overgrown with nettles and brambles. The scene made him very sad. In the field beside his broken-down home, Oisín saw a group of men. He rode over to them and asked, "What has happened to Finn and the Fianna?" The men were amazed at the size of Oisín. "Finn died a long time ago," said one of them. "He had a son called Oisín who rode away with a beautiful woman on a fairy horse, but that was hundreds of years ago." Oisín was too sad to tell the men that he was Oisín, son of Finn, so he turned his fairy white horse towards the west and galloped away with tears in his eyes. On his way to the sea, he passed by Glen na Smol, where he used to go hunting with the Fianna. Oisín remembered happy times spent there. Down in the valley, a group of men were trying to lift a large stone that one of the Fianna could have lifted with one hand. It was a sorry sight. When Oisín came closer, one of the men asked, "Gentle giant, will you help us move this stone?" Feeling sorry for the men, Oisín said he would gladly help. Remembering Niamh's words, he did not get down from the horse. Instead, he leaned forward, grabbed the stone and hurled it away. The men gasped at his strength. But alas, as Oisín threw the stone away, the golden stirrup snapped and Oisín fell to the ground. The white horse neighed loudly, shook his head and sped away over the mountain. Oisín started to change. He felt weak, and his arms and legs began to tingle and lose all their strength. His curly red locks turned white and his face became wrinkled. The men couldn't believe their eyes. A beautiful, friendly giant had turned into a wizened old man before their eyes. A frail voice said, "I am Oisín, son of Finn. I have returned from Tirnanog after 300 years. My wife Niamh warned me not to get down off the white horse. Now I understand why. I shall never see my love again." Over the waves in the magical land of Tirnanog, the white horse ran towards the castle. When Niamh saw that the golden saddle was empty, she cried for her lost Oisín, who would never return to her again.